Hey folks, welcome back to another review with yours truly, Sam Healey, right here on the Dice Tower. Today we're going to be taking a look at In the Footsteps of Darwin. This is from a publisher called Sorry, We Are French. I love that company name, by the way. Anyway, this is a light family weight game that follows Charles Darwin on his global journeys to learn more about different species around the world. And so let's get down to the table. We'll take a look at it and we'll have some final thoughts after that. So let's get to it. So as we get down to the board here, we will see that I have the game set up for 5 players. So with 5 players, you're going to have 9 animal and supporter tiles out here on the board, and then you're going to have a stack of 12 for each player that's in the game. So in a 4-player game, you're only going to have 4 stacks of 12, not 5. In a 3-player game, only 3 stacks of 12, not 4 or 5. So you get that. So that's kind of dependent on the number of players as far as setup is concerned there. Every player is going to get 1 guide, and then they will also get 1 chapter, which is basically in-game scoring. But during your turn, the game is going to last a number of rounds until everybody has 12 tiles on their board. So generally speaking, you're basically going to go 12 rounds, and then whoever has the most points at the end of 12 rounds is going to be the winner. On your turn, what you're basically going to be able to do is you're going to be able to take one of the tiles from the column or the row wherever the HMS Beagle is. And when you take a tile, how far away from the HMS Beagle you are determines how many number of spaces the Beagle will move after you've chosen. So if you choose this tile, he'll move 1 space. If you choose this tile, he'll move 2 spaces around the board, and so forth and so on. If you take the third one here, then he will move 1, 2, 3, like that. This will go on to my journal in the spot that is 4. For example, this is a panda, a giant panda. It's from the Asian ecosystem, and it is that kind of an animal, and it has a very specific place on your journal where it will reside. Then, once you've moved the beagle, a new species or animal tile will come out and take its spot. Now, the next person has to choose from either that row or column, if it's on one of the columns, and then they will choose a tile and then move the beagle a number of spaces according to which tile they took away from the beagle. And that's how the game continues until, like I said earlier, everybody has exactly 12 tiles on their journal boards, and then they will tabulate scores. Whoever has the highest score is the winner. What do you get points for? Well, you'll notice that some of these tiles have red point values with little laurels underneath them. Those are victory points. So every one of these tiles that are still visible from the top down on your journal will score you those points at the end of the game. There are other things that you'll score points for. For example, this tokay gecko here from the Asian ecosystem will give you a compass token whenever you take that tile. This compass token would basically go on your board like so, and then your compass tokens will be multiplied by the number of scrolls that you have visible on your journal at the end of the game. A couple of other special actions will translate to points at the end of the game for you. For example, if you are able to write a publication, which basically means that if you have been able to fill the row of a species or the column of an ecosystem on your board, whenever you place the 4th tile that will finish one of those rows or columns, you're able to take one of these publication tiles and place it up here, and each one of those are worth 5 points at the end of the game for you. There is also the special action of covering up the same kind of animal that you've already studied will allow you to take one of these chapter ribbons here. So for example, let's say during the course of the game, I was able to pick this one up and add it to my board. And then later on, I was also able to pick this one up and add it to my board like so. Then that means I have studied the same kind of species in the same ecosystem twice, which allows me to draw one of these chapter ribbons, which means that I'm helping Charles Darwin write that chapter of Origins of Species. And this will give me different ways to score points at the end of the game. So for example, this one here scores you 2 points for every publication that you write throughout the course of the game. This one gives you 1 point for every crown symbol that's visible on your journal at the end of the game. This one gives you 1 point for every bird species that you've studied throughout the course of the game. There's a number of different ways that you can score points with these guys, but the way you draw more of them is by simply covering up species that you've already studied. Now, some of these tiles, whether it's a supporter tile or another animal tile like this one, will give you this symbol, and that simply means that you're able to take a guide and add it to your board. It's important to note that you can only have 2 guides at any one time, but you can use your guides to do a couple of different things before you choose what tiles you're going to take on your turn. So you can use a guide to move the HMS Beagle back 1 space or forward 1 space, and then you can choose from that row and or column that you have put the HMS Beagle on. Another thing that you can use a guide for on your turn is to wipe away. So for example, let's say that I use one of my beagles, I use one of my guides to wipe away these 3 new tiles will come out, and then these tiles that were removed are simply placed underneath some of the remaining draw piles, and now you can choose from that. It is important to note that you can use only 1 guide on your turn. Other things that the tiles will give you, I mentioned these briefly earlier when we were talking about the chapter ribbons, but these crown symbols will give the person who takes that and puts it into their journal this Charles Darwin token, and this token is actually a standee. I lost the bottom part of it. Whoever has this token will give you 2 points at the end of the game. So this will change hands multiple times throughout the course of the game, but whoever has it at the end of the game will get 2 points added to their score. Once everybody has 12 tiles on their board, you'll simply tabulate your scores using the scoring pad, using, just going in order from top to bottom. Whoever has the most points is the winner, and that's generally speaking how you play in the Footsteps of Darwin. Now, I think the designers did a pretty good job here of giving you a game that covers some subject matter that usually tends to produce a game that is quite heavy. For example, the Journeys of Darwin, which is another game that came out very recently, is almost the antithesis of this game as far as game weight is concerned, but it covers the same subject matter. So you have 2 games that are covering the same context, so to speak, but they've gone at it from 2 almost totally different directions, in that this one is very light, very family-oriented, and the other one, Journeys of Darwin, is very mechanically heavy, and but it covers the same stuff. All of the different mechanisms that are employed here, we have things like in-game bonuses, open drafting, grid coverage, tile placement, a rondel. I read that on the Geek and I was like, really, is it a rondel? It kind of is, because you are moving the HMS around in a circular fashion, choosing what tile you're going to take, which those 2 components I would say would justify calling it a rondel mechanism. So that's cool. And then there's layering on top of that, because you do have the opportunity to put the same kind of species animal tile on top of another one. So there is that layering that's there. So I think that's all well and good. And these are good mechanisms, the ones that I enjoy. Open drafting, I do like drafting games. in general. I do like being able to work towards in-game bonuses. I like those kinds of things. And I'm finding out here, at least recently, that I really enjoy rondel mechanisms as well. There's just something about choosing what you can do from a set group of actions. I like that, and it's usually, I'm just finding out here recently that I'm really kind of drawn towards those rondels. I have liked them in the past, but recently there have been a lot of games that have basically cropped up, I guess you could say, that are using that rondel mechanism that I've really enjoyed. So all of the mechanisms, I think, are good choices. They are engaging choices, but at the same time, they're also they're challenging, but they're also very simple mechanisms that can be taught easily, and I think that's very important in today's age. With my pros and cons, we'll go ahead and move on to my pros. And I've already kind of mentioned these a little bit. Turns are super fast, and I think that's a super good thing because downtime is the killer of board games, in my opinion. So having turns that go quickly in a game really, really help people stay engaged. Even people that are usually prone to analysis paralysis probably won't have a problem with this game at all because there are simple decisions to make, simple comparisons to make on your turn. You will not have to really kind of crunch a lot of numbers on your turn. You'll be able to see pretty quickly, pretty easily, what the best course of action is going to be for you. Only being able to use one of your guides throughout the course of a turn is, I think, important to staying away from analysis paralysis because you basically only have one of three options available to you during the course of a turn, and that is only if you have a guide that's available to you. So you can pretty much choose you can see easily what the best choice is for you, and I think that's a great thing, and I think it really helps keep those turns light, quick, and fast. Another pro for me is that the production quality of everything is high. I really enjoyed how thick these tiles were. They are super durable. I think and all of the tiles are all that same thickness. You don't have some that are, a little bit of a lesser thickness and others that are super thick. Also, the journals, the player boards are all a nice heavy cardstock for the game. And I like the fact that they fold. I like the design of them. I think that everything just really goes well for the production value of the game. They did a great job with that, so I had to make sure that I mentioned it. Artwork, that's my next pro. The artwork is great. I love the graphic design of it. One of the things that I thought really made the game pop was the kind of black and white background that represented the different sketches of animals, and then having the colorful tiles on top of it really makes the artwork and the graphic design pop really well, and I enjoyed it. I thought all of the different depictions of the animals looked very good, and they were not too floofy, if I can use that word. They were very scientific looking, I guess. They weren't cutesy. They were just very matter-of-fact paintings, drawings, and I liked that about the tiles here. So I enjoyed all of the choices that were made here, and I think the very subtle things of like keeping those black and white sketches so that the color tiles could really pop, those were great decisions. Now, another pro of the game for me actually comes with what's on the back side of the board here. This is the front side of the board where you actually play the game, but if you turn the board over, you actually have a map that traces Charles Darwin's journey across the globe, and they actually printed out an appendix, and this appendix will basically go through and tell you what happened at each of those different spots throughout the course of his journey. And then he'll also give some notes on each of the different species that are depicted within the game. So games that do these kinds of things, that provide an appendix or an atlas or something to that effect, that not only seeks to entertain but also to educate, I like that when games do it, because it provides another level of value that you weren't really expecting to get. My last pro is simply talking about the mechanisms, and I really kind of mentioned this a little bit in my final thoughts section. All of the mechanisms are simple, but they are still engaging. They encourage you to make choices that matter. So the choices were satisfying. You know, when you're building out and laying down your tiles and determining what strategy you're going to go for, that's another thing, that they were engaging and they were strategic, but they were also very tactile, because you're picking up those tiles and putting them down onto your journal boards in such a way that you're choosing what you're trying to go for. You're choosing to cover up those points because you think you're going to make more points if you have that scroll, multiplying with all of the compasses that you've made. Those little decisions to me were very satisfying. They're very tactile and they were very strategic for me. According to the level of game that this is. They were not super strategic. Don't get me wrong. I'm not trying to overstate this. The one con that I have is that I think some people will look at this and they will simply say, this is too light. This is not fun because it's too light. And I get that, because I think the subject matter tends to appeal to people who are more intellectual. People who are more intellectual generally want to have a little bit more of a challenge, a little bit more complexity and that kind of thing. So I think coming at it from that avenue, that might be a con. I'm of the opinion that because they took this subject matter and they made it appeal to somebody that might not want to be looking for that complexity, I think that's a great thing. So in my opinion, this isn't really a con, but I can see how it would be a con for someone who is viewing the subject matter of this game and they want a little bit more of a bite out of the game. I get it. So it could be a con for you if you're looking at this game and you're really kind of a person that would enjoy the more heavier style. I'd push you towards the Journeys of Darwin, I think is what they're called. But if you are on the lighter side of games more often than not, but you enjoy this subject matter, I can definitely recommend this to you. As far as my rating is concerned, I'm going to give this a full 8 out of 10 because I really think that this is a great game, production-wise, mechanically speaking, aesthetically speaking. It really ticks off all of the boxes for me personally. So this is going to get an 8 out of 10 from me here on the Dice Tower. If I'm coming at it from the flip side, which is my other channel, I'm going to give it 2 thumbs up and tell you that if you have the ability, I think you should go out and pick it up. I think it handles the subject matter very well in a more of a gateway or a first steps type of way, rather than throwing you into the deep end on something like Journeys of Darwin, which is a much heavier, much more everything in the kitchen sink type of game. So that is my review of In the Footsteps of Darwin from Sorry We Are French. Thank you for joining us. We'll see you guys and gals on the flip side. Take care.